And here we go, everyone. It's the Donovan Live Postgame show on a Tuesday night here on Facebook Live, WKYC, along with Jim Donovan. I'm Dave DiNatale. Tis the season. It's March. It's the start of the new league year in the NFL. We've got March Madness coming here this week to Quicken Loans Arena. And, of course, we've got changes in weather. What does that mean for most everybody in a newsroom? A cold. How about that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I remember last year I caught a terrible one that lingered for 2 or 3 weeks.
It's not bad enough to keep you from working or keep you from doing stuff, but it just nags.
Yeah.
It nags at you. It's just like the athlete that has the toe injury that won't go away. It just bothers you.
Right.
You can play through it,
right,
but it just bothers you. But Jimmy, we talked last night about what the Browns' approach to this free agency and trades might be here as we get things started. The league year will start at 4 o'clock tomorrow, so we're less than 24 hours away. But you pointed out that it's going to be probably more important or as important to the Browns, rather than necessarily making a big splash right away, to taking care of the guys in their own house, so to speak. And one guy that they wanted to take care of, and they did so today, according to every report out there, Brashad Perriman, the former first-round pick wide receiver, who really kind of revitalized himself here with the Browns as one of Baker Mayfield's favorite targets. He'll be back for 2019, a one-year deal.
Yeah, he gets a one-year deal done there. He had secured Drew Rosenhaus as his agent, and Drew Rosenhaus, is a very, very accomplished agent. Witness Antonio Brown and what he did there, and for most of his clients. I think that prolonged these talks because I think that the way Perriman played at the end of the year, which was very good, and he lived up finally to where he was drafted initially in the NFL by Baltimore as a first-round selection, but just didn't play that way for the Ravens. But for the Browns, he did.
Yeah.
He really became a reliable, big play, down-the-field kind of guy, good speed, good size, and he showed good hands, which was ultimately his demise in Baltimore was he dropped the ball too much. But not here, but I think Drew Rosenhaus kind of used that to say, hey, listen, we know Cleveland wants you back, but let's explore maybe other deals in the marketplace, see if we can get a big deal. And I think the Browns kind of felt they knew their limit where they were going to go. They wanted him back. And I think he wanted to come back here, too, because it was a good thing. And there was a sense of loyalty that they claimed him when nobody else seemed to be giving him a job. It's a smart deal. I still think the Browns will probably be open-minded to look for the possibility that it's kind of a wait-and-see, you-show-me kind of deal, that if he has another big year, then I think that they would be looking then to extend that deal and make it a bigger deal next year. But for the now part, this was a smart move, I think, for both parties.
Now, I'm sure fans are going to be asking here and get the questions going here already. Because the Browns have done this, it doesn't necessarily mean that John Dorsey and Dave Gettleman out in New York are still not potentially, or they're not going to have a conversation about Odell Beckham at some point if they still aren't right now. They may still be having conversations. It doesn't necessarily mean the Browns are opposed to bringing in another wide receiver, but you feel good about the guys you have if you don't make that big splash.
Yeah, and I think they are talking to them, and I think they have been talking to them, and I think the Giants know the Browns are interested. But I think that the Giants' price, there are two things. Number one, I think ownership with the Giants doesn't want him traded.
Yeah.
The Maras do not want him traded. Because it would be, the official dismantling of the Giants, which I think is happening anyway. Because they're going to move away from Eli Manning, whether it's at some point this upcoming season, but certainly at the end of this year, they're going to draft a young quarterback or trade for a young quarterback, and there'll be a rebuilding of the Giants. But if you trade away Odell Beckham Jr., you're saying, hey, listen, we're doing it now, and this is a whole new era of New York Giants football, but this guy represented the kind of guy that I think people would buy a ticket to come and see him play. So I think that's one problem. And the other thing is, because the ownership doesn't want him traded, I think Dave Gettleman, their general manager, has to go out and get the biggest deal possible if they're going to make a deal. So it seems, Dino, that the conversation starts with maybe 2 first-rounders.
Right.
Now that's very rich. Now the Browns only have one. It's unlike last year. The Browns have only one first rounder this year, like most teams in the NFL. So they have that 17th pick. But if you're talking 2 first rounders, you'd be talking this year, and you'd be giving up your pick next year too. Now, suddenly I think they're in it to talk about it, but I don't know if they're in it to hope that maybe the demands of the Giants gets watered down a little bit.
Because you start talking about your first round this year and your first round next year, and I get it. I mean, draft picks are stock, they're currency. You can always trade back in and things like that. But this is not a complete puzzle. I mean, you still have important needs to fill, both for now and for the future, that you'd like to get. John Dorsey obviously showed an aptitude with he and his staff for drafting good, solid players in the first couple rounds, and certainly did that last year. So you'd hate to part with both picks,
right?
But at the same time, Jimmy, I get where fans are saying. I mean, OBJ is he is a real talent, and when he's healthy, he's along with the Julio Jones and Antonio Brown, he's right there as one of the best.
Right. Well, there are a couple of ways to look at it. Number one, I think that they realize Baker Mayfield is a pretty special quarterback who is ready to go. He's ready to roll right now, okay? They know what they have. I mean, he's going to get better. He's going to get better, so why not give him all the tools that you can give him, all the weapons, as they say, to give him, to let him really hit the ceiling that they feel is very, very high for him. And you would be doing that if you give him this kind of a player. The other situation is, if you had Deshaun Kaiser at quarterback or Tyrod Taylor at quarterback right now, then you wouldn't be making this kind of a deal because, you'd be having a Ferrari out there, but you'd be having a Camaro throwing the football to him, and it just wouldn't add up. But you have a very, very special quarterback that is a big-time player and can get the ball to people. And if they have the ability, he's going to get it there. That's not in question right now. That's why they may be taking a serious look at this. He is ready to go right now, not 2 years from now.
Yeah.
He's ready right now.
Right now.
And if it is right now, then let it be right now and go after it. I think that's the thinking if they're really in it to make this deal.
Yeah.
If they're not in it to make the deal, then I think that they're saying, hey, listen, like you pointed out, we feel we're good right now. Yeah. But I think you have to look at this. Is there a receiver in the draft that either right now or 2 years from now could be Odell Beckham Jr.? Yeah. I don't know if there is.
I don't know that there is.
I don't think there is.
Eric Dixon points out, and I think it's a good point, because if you figure this year, Browns won 7 games last year. You figure they're going to win more games, maybe, who knows, 9, 10, 11, who knows. It would mean even a lower pick for 2020. And you're right. So, this year the Browns draft 17. Let's say next year at some point they're in the 20s. Well, then it's a little bit easier to get over. And I guess the other thing, Jimmy, is I'm kind of gone back and forth because the Beckham rumor started to pick up some steam today. There were more reports about the interest in an AFC North team that the Giants were talking to.
That would be the Browns.
Yeah. Although somebody asked me, would the Steelers not potentially be in that mix because of the Antonio Brown? But I don't know. I don't think they have that kind of currency to make that deal right now.
So. No, I don't think that's the situation. Now, you have to go back, okay? You have to be willing that a year from now, okay, you do not have a first-round draft choice. And I can remember when the Browns drafted Joe Thomas, and they had like the 21st or 22nd pick also in the first round, and they traded out of the pick, and they traded with Dallas and took Brady Quinn. Okay, the next year, it's very, very easy to have, buyer's remorse that you're not involved in the draft. And that's you have to be ready to do that. Atlanta I can remember listening to Thomas Dimitroff after they did the Julio Jones trade that the Browns were involved in that got them up there to that spot to make that pick. What was it, 6?
Yeah.
I think in the first round. The Browns went down in the round. I can remember him saying, even as great as Julio Jones was, and he was great right away, you just had a bad feeling in your gut the next year that you just didn't have that first-round pick. So that's something you have to deal with, too.
Yeah, Bob says, give up the 2 number ones and go get that Lombardi trophy. And I get it. I think about what the Chicago Bears did, and they paid a lot of freight to go get Khalil Mack. I would have done it, too. I mean, I remember sitting there going, Yeah, I probably would have done it too, because Khalil Mack is a franchise-changing player on the defensive side. Now, if you think Odell Beckham Jr. is a franchise-changing player on the offensive side, like you said, if you think he's been better than any wide receiver in the first round this year and any wide receiver next year, well, then I think he probably would feel better about going and making that trade.
Yeah, and there's a connection here. I mean, Jarvis Landry,
yes,
he was with him. Adam Henry, the wide receiver coach, was his coach. And so you have that. The other thing that you really have to take a look at right now is that I think you just have to take a look at the situation and say, I really believe if you took a look at an offense that had Baker Mayfield at quarterback, a tandem of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt at running back, and who knows what they do with Duke Johnson, David Njoku at tight end,
yes,
Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashard Higgins, Brashard Perriman, and a really, a very, very more than serviceable offensive line.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, suddenly you're in the wow factor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty potent offense.
Yeah. I mean, you're ready to go.
Well, here's the other signal too. I think that something may be cooking here, and that they're open-minded to doing this. They had needs going into this offseason. And a lot of people thought they would address it in the draft. Well, they've already addressed it in the trade and what they did today with Sheldon Richardson.
Absolutely.
Okay, they needed more pass rush. They got Olivier Vernon. They had a real problem in the middle of their defensive line. They got Sheldon Richardson. So the 17th pick is not going to be used, I don't think, on a pass rusher or a defensive lineman. And they've taken care of some of the needs that they've already signed. They needed a wide, they wanted to get Perriman signed. They signed Perriman.
Right.
And sitting out there is a dynamic player in Kareem Hunt, who they firmly believe will be reinstated, serve a suspension, and be a part of their offense. I have to tell you, they are sitting in a really enviable position.
You sit there and you say, okay, draft notwithstanding, I mean, they want to upgrade the linebacking core.
Yeah, I mean, they need a linebacker.
They need a linebacker. I think they still want to get some help in the secondary. But I mean, if they decide to flush that, they say, okay, look, we don't need the number one. We don't need the number one this year. We don't need it next year. Let's go get Beckham and take care of the offense and get that last piece that we need with the offense. I mean, then you spend most of the rest of your draft stock, filling out the defense and figuring out what and also, by the way, as Eric points out, I mean, the Browns, even if they were to make the Beckham trade, and then when you make that trade, you're going to have to sign him. You're going to have to lock it. You're going to have to.
Well, actually, he just signed.
That's right.
He signed a mega deal.
Now, would it be something where you'd have to wipe it out and give him Antonio Brown money?
No, I mean, I think that was a pretty rich deal.
It was.
I mean,
it was.
It's the ink is barely dry on that. So, no, I think the deal part is okay. I really do. I mean, I also think he would be much happier playing here. Now, I know that's a mouthful. Okay.
Right.
New York. Okay, but the Giants aren't the Yankees.
Right.
Okay, they really,
and neither are the Jets.
Yeah, neither are the Jets. You're right. But here's the deal. Okay, that team is we talked about this last night. That team, the new face of that team is Saquon Barkley.
Yes, no question.
Whoever their next quarterback is going to be. Eli Manning is the past. I mean, they're just kind of hanging on till they could try and get someone ready to play and take over. But Barkley he's the new car in the garage. Odell Beckham Jr., would be coming to an offense that's dynamic and has a dynamic quarterback.
Yep.
Eli Manning's greatness was earlier on. Baker Mayfield's greatness is in front of him.
Right.
And that's what wide receivers look at.
And this is why, looking back now, if they do this, if they do make a Beckham trade, why I think it was so important for them to keep Freddie Kitchens, and promote him and make him head coach, because there's not a question mark about, well, how is Baker Mayfield going to adapt to new offensive coordinator now that new head coach is in the building? You know what he's going to do, because you have the track record of Mayfield playing with Kitchens.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to see.
Absolutely. I will say this. That was an exceptional signing today of Sheldon Richardson.
Yeah, I was going to ask about it. I loved it too. I thought it was great.
I go back to the really Go back to that last game in Baltimore, and there's a visual that was a problem. In all the excitement of the Browns beating the Bengals the week before and the Broncos on that Saturday night and, really playing well. And Mayfield gutting it out in Baltimore and almost pulling the game out. But remember how they just got creased right through the middle of their defense.
So disappointing.
It was disappointing, and it was alarming.
Yeah.
Okay, because we had heard about this defense that was better, and it was great at the beginning of the year, but it was kind of, kind of sucking on fumes at the end of the year. But that last game, I mean, those, we made those running backs look like Gale Sayers, and they weren't. Okay, and Lamar Jackson was a problem too.
Yeah.
And it was right up the gut. There were a lot of, really right through the middle of that defense, and Sheldon Richardson is a really good player. And the other thing is the new pressure in the NFL, the new pass rush is through the middle.
Yeah.
And it's because of these quick release quarterbacks now and these offenses, these air raid offenses, that get rid of the ball so quickly, and that these three-step drop, get it out of there. It's very, very difficult for guys off the edge to get through there and get it. That's why these seven-step drops now they look so weird because they're so infrequent.
Yeah, you can't.
But this was a really good signing.
He's not a guy that, when I feel like in the past when the Browns have gone out and signed a defensive tackle, sometimes you'll say, well, this guy is a pass rush specialist, but he's only a third down guy, or he's a 2-down tackle. He can only stop the run, but you take him out on third down. Reading about him and remembering seeing him, I feel like, Sheldon Richardson's a guy that, you stick him there next to Ogunjobi, and that's your guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Ogunjobi is a terrific young player. But just like we keep saying Myles Garrett needs help on the other side, Ogunjobi needed help.
Yes.
Coley was a Band-Aid, Trevon Coley, who really kind of burst on the scene a year ago, but didn't give them, I think, what they thought they were getting there. I mean, they picked him up as an undrafted free agent that was cut loose by the Ravens, and they picked him up, and they found a little dynamic player at first. But as things went on, I mean, you saw why he was an undrafted free agent, and it kind of played itself out. And they needed to be better. They need to be better. And, and they got better today. They are a better team today than they were at the end of the year, and that includes Vernon coming, and being involved in the trade with the Giants. And the other thing is, there's obviously they've done business with the Giants now. Going back to the Beckham thing, I mean, there's an open line of dialogue there.
Yeah. A couple of questions here from fans. From Michael, you just mentioned Duke Johnson, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Could he be used in a trade for a linebacker? Michael wants to know.
See, I don't think, Michael, they can do that until they have a definitive date of when Kareem Hunt is going to be back.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's, I think he's going to be reinstated. I think there will be a suspension. I don't know what the number's going to be, how many games he's going to miss. But I think you have to keep Duke Johnson around. And Duke's I don't want to put it that way, like Duke is, a second-hand piece here. But, Kareem Hunt's a very dynamic player. But I don't think you could just part ways with Duke Johnson yet because you don't know how long Kareem Hunt's going to be away or even if he's going to be reinstated. I think that they feel he will be. There will be a suspension, but there's going to be a period of time where you need another running back. And I don't think the kid Dontrell Hilliard is ready to assume that role.
By the way, because we didn't get a chance to have a show when all the Hunt stuff happened, is that going to having that tandem? Of a guy in Nick Chubb, who had such a dynamic rookie year, and a guy in Hunt who's going to be, who obviously has all pro abilities, but is going to be kind of making a comeback here. Is that dynamic going to be able to work where, they're going to be able to, have a tandem and not have any issues there in terms of feelings and guys who want to play. I mean, I think on the field certainly it can work, but off the field, can it work?
Well, Nick Chubb is first of all just a terrific guy. Mm-hmm. Just from a terrific family. He's very understated, very quiet, very professional for a guy that just wrapped up his first year. I think I just think it's a dynamic of the two of them that is just, it boggles your mind what they'll be able to do. The other thing, Dino, is I think that Hunt is so explosive, lining up in the slot. Really, he's just. I just thought the day he played against the Browns, he was frightening.
Yeah.
And I'm talking from a Cleveland perspective because you had no answer for him. He's too fast. He's very powerful. He's incredibly elusive. He is so skilled in catching the football that I think that's the more the merrier. But as far as sharing the football,
you're not going to believe this, by the way.
Yeah,
Mike Garofalo. And I thank somebody who just told me, and I verified this from the NFL Network's Mike Garofalo is reporting the Cleveland Browns have traded for New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., according to sources. The deal is done. I am not joking. That is from Mike Garofalo of the NFL Network. Adam Schefter is also now reporting from ESPN. The Cleveland Browns have acquired Odell Beckham Jr. from the New York Giants. We'll stay on here and get instant. We'll figure out here what the package is. But here we go. I mean, it has happened. Boy, you never get something where you and I can sit and preview and say, well, what if it happens? What if it happens? It has happened. OBJ is coming to the CLE.
Wow, it's just amazing. It's amazing, but. Let me just say this. When you have the quarterback, you're able to do so much more. This team has been handcuffed for years trying to find a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the search was all about, trying to draft a quarterback, trying to trade for a quarterback, trying to resurrect a quarterback's career. But once you have the quarterback, you can dive in on so many other things, and this is just amazing. This is amazing.
This is an amazing development. We'll see here. We're watching Twitter here to see what the terms are. But again, we can report to you that the Cleveland Browns have acquired New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. The NFL Network's reporting it. ESPN is reporting it. I am absolutely. This is amazing. I mean, we're trying to get the details here.
Well, obviously,
it.
And I really believe the signal was what we had just talked about a couple of minutes ago. When they started to take care of their other needs with the trade of Zeitler and getting the pass rusher in Vernon, getting the defensive tackle to solidify the middle of that defense, you were taking the draft out of the mix. So it was saying, hey, listen, we're going to use the draft picks as ammunition.
Yeah. And, you get the defensive tackle, you get the pass rusher. Well, and Eric, I think, was the one who said it. It's like, wait a minute. If you think the Browns are going to have a better record next year, and if you go get Beckham, and you think the Browns are going to be 11-5 or 12-4, then you don't care as much about the first-round draft pick in 2020 because you're hoping it's going to be right at the end of the first round, and you don't care. Then it's, at that point it becomes, all right, well, that's what we have the rest of the draft for. That's why you use a fourth-round pick for Antonio Callaway or a third-round pick for Callaway. You figure out how to find those.
I left him out of the equation. I mean, Callaway is going to be a big part of it all too. This is an amazing offense that the Browns have the potential to put out on the field, and that's with Kareem Hunt. You can't put him into the mix yet, but just in the passing game, I mean, just look at a couple of years ago where you have gone from.
Yeah.
Jordan Payton, these kind of players. Yeah. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. The guy fooling around with Josh Gordon through all of the stuff that they went through with him and these kind of guys. I mean, Dwayne Bowe, all of these guys, Sammy Coates. I mean, this is just this is going for it.
This is going for it.
We're going to go for it. We're not going to wait around. We're going for it right now.
And again, you pointed out too, one of the things that it's going to make it, I think, a very seamless fit here in Cleveland for Beckham. His teammate, Jarvis Landry, will be on the other side from LSU, and his position coach at LSU will be his position coach here in Cleveland.
Yeah, the other thing is you have an incredible head coach that is very offensive-minded in Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, here we go, Jimmy. I'm sorry to cut you off. The terms of the trade are this, per Adam Schefter. The Giants will get the Browns' first-round pick in 2019. That's the 17th overall pick. The Browns' second of their three third-round, or their second third-round pick this year. I think they have 2 third-rounders. But this is a surprise. Safety Jabril Peppers is also a part of that deal. So, again, the Browns get Odell Beckham for 1 first-round pick, a third-round pick, and Jabril Peppers.
Well, Peppers is from Jersey.
Yeah.
He's a great kid, and Peppers came on at the end of the year last year. It will mean the Browns, need a safety.
Yes.
Okay, because, and they have the Demarius Randall situation hanging out there. But on the other side of this, protected is the first-round pick next year.
Right.
That's critical because it appeared as though as late as this afternoon, the asking price was 2 number ones. If you had them this year, so much, take them this year. If you had them next year. The other thing that really put the Browns in a good position to make the deal was Antonio Brown going to Oakland.
Yes.
Because the Raiders had all of those three first-round picks and the 35th overall pick in the draft. But the Browns were in a very good position. They had done business with the Giants last Friday in the Zeitler trade. Very, very interesting. Amazing.
I don't think the Browns overpaid. I'm looking at it again. David put it on the board. So again, Adam Schefter of ESPN tweeting out, the Browns get Odell Beckham Jr. By everyone's measurement, when he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. He's an amazing talent. The Giants get the Browns' first-round pick this year, their third-round pick, the second of their third-round picks, and Jabril Peppers. There's your trade.
Yeah, Jabril Peppers, came on right at the end of the year last year. He had a disappointing rookie season. Very frustrating for him. But near the end of the season, he really picked up play. He had that huge sack that iced the game against Denver. He had a big interception in that game, too. He never was the return guy that they thought he was going to be. That might be the NFL kicking game changing so much. But he was so dynamic in that aspect of his game at Michigan. But the Browns, right now would need a safety. They're going to have to go out and get a safety.
Yes.
Safeties were on the market yesterday.
Safeties are on the right.
A lot of the safeties went yesterday.
Well, I would be calling Demarius Randall's agent right now. Just make sure you've got him locked up.
They have guys like Derek Kindred, guys like that. But I would think that they are going to have to go out and get a safety.
Just a couple of your quick comments. Joy says, we got OBJ, my son reported. Yes, Justin, is it true? Yes, it is true. Again, if you're just joining us here, it happened during the show. Thank you. We never get a break like this. The Cleveland Browns have.
And in years past, we never get a player like this.
Odell Beckham Jr. from the New York Giants coming to the Cleveland Browns for a first-round pick this year, a third-round pick this year, and also safety Jabril Peppers.
Like I said before this became official, I really think he's going to be happier here than he would be as a member of the current New York Giants. I really do. I think the Giants are saying right now, we are rebuilding.
Yes.
Okay, we are going into a massive rebuild. We have kind of fooled around with this thing and tried to squeeze as much out. A couple of years ago, they had that phantom 11-5 record, but got knocked out in the playoffs by the Packers. Eli Manning's had 2 tough years. Their offensive line's been a mess. Pat Shurmur's in there going into his second year. And I think they are admitting now this is Saquon Barkley's team, plus we're going to rebuild. And when you're going to do that, you do it through the draft. And I think that's what's going to happen in New York. What's going to happen here is an incredibly dynamic offense that has Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and a lot of other Nick Chubb, the possibility of Kareem Hunt, all being orchestrated by
major
Baker
firepower.
Mayfield.
It's Freddie Kitchens has got to be jumping up and down. Beckham is 26 years old.
And he's 5 years younger than Antonio Brown.
I think that, Jimmy, and I think that's a huge. If you had equal opportunity to get the two guys, I think that besides what happened in Pittsburgh, the fact that Beckham's much younger. I mean, he was a guy the Browns could have drafted in 2014 instead of getting Manziel. It's a much different situation.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know, right? Amongst all the players the Browns bypassed, Khalil Mack and others, Beckham is one. Last year for the Giants, Beckham caught 77 passes, just over 1,000 yards, 1,052 yards, and 6 touchdowns. But he's already had, for a guy who's 26 years old, he's already had a terrific career, and his prime years will now be in Cleveland as a member of the Browns. I mean, his rookie year, 91 catches, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. 96 catches, 101 catches. He had the injury year in 2017, came back last year with 77 catches.
And the catches are unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, he gives you a down-the-field threat that is second to none in the NFL. I mean, second to none in the NFL. I mean, Antonio Brown is a slant catch run guy. This guy is, boom, gone. I mean, he's a human highlight film. And he's got, I'm telling you, when you get the quarterback, when you finally get the quarterback, you're able to fill the team in.
You can make a move like this. You can make a move like this. So your wide receiver room now, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, the former LSU teammates, Rashad Perryman for a year, Antonio Callaway coming back for his second year, and presumably they'll keep Higgins. He's the restricted free agent. They'll have him. That's a heck of a wide receiver room.
It is
for a coach to work with and a quarterback to work with.
It's amazing. I mean, in my time here, and I love Brian Brennan, Reggie Langhorne, and all those guys. They have never had this kind of firepower offensively.
No.
I mean, the Browns have always, in those heyday years of Kozar, they were a bang it around, effort type offensive team, not an explosive team. I mean, at times they could be explosive, and certainly since they've come back, they have been pathetic at times offensively, and we only saw the burst come last year when Mayfield came into the lineup, but he was even restricted so many times by, not great performances, and, with not a lot of talent. I mean, isolated talent. Just remember, I mean, the attention that Landry would get because he was Jarvis Landry and the inexperience that they had around Landry, and sometimes the up and down play of Njoku at tight end. But now you add a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., and wow, I mean, it opens up so many other things. And the leadoff point, the jump-off point is his amazing talent to begin with. And then the guy that can get him the ball. That's the key thing.
Yeah, it all goes back to if you have the quarterback, you can make a lot of things happen. So now this will all become official tomorrow. But as you said, the Browns still are going to have, they don't have a first-round draft pick, but they're still going to have some needs to address, especially linebacker, safety. But, I mean, offense, Jimmy, you almost feel like the offense is done.
I think so. I can't think of anything. I know they parted ways with
place kicker
with Darren Fells. The Patriots ex-kicker is out there as a free agent, Stephen Gostkowski. Again, now guys may look at this situation and say, "Hey, listen, they're going to win."
Right.
When you look at the Cleveland situation now and you say they're going to win.
Yeah.
Okay. I could be kicking a lot of extra points rather than field goals.
Right.
33 yards might be my long.
Right.
If you're a kicker coming in here. I think that from a competitive situation anyway, they have to make that a competitive situation or go out and get a well-established kicker because you're going to be in these kind of games now. You're going to be in big games, and even with all this firepower, you're going to need guys that can come in and win a game.
Yeah, you still have to win. You got to win those tight ball games, especially playoff time.
Right.
All right. So again, thank you again for doing this win. We've got a quick story up now at WKYC.com. Jimmy will have a lot more on this tonight. Channel 3 News at 11. We'll have a lot of content as well on here about this as well. But the Cleveland Browns have acquired OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., the wide receiver from the Giants. He comes to Cleveland. The Browns give up a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and safety Jabril Peppers.
How about that?
How about that?
Wow.
All right.
That's quite an off season. And it's really just starting.
And it's starting tomorrow. Jimmy, thanks for hanging around here for the extra few minutes here as we got to do this here. So great stuff from everybody. Again, more content coming up with you tonight here at WKYC.com and on Facebook Live. For David Herberton, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thanks for watching the Donovan Live postgame show on WKYC's Facebook Live.